I'm Loretta Simpson. I'm a Fayette County Democrat, and I'm voting for Harris. Yay, Harris! Go, go, go. No going back. Yes, yes, yes. It is that time. Election time is here. November, we're headed to the polls. I want to talk to you a little bit about Kamala Harris. I am with the Democratic headquarters in Fayette County, and the reason why I'm choosing to vote with Kamala Harris is not because she's a black woman, it's because she's worked hard to get to where she is. And I'm looking forward to her political strategies. I think her prosecution skills is going to be a great platform to have debates and discussions. I know many persons of color are concerned about her prosecution history, but my parents used to say, if you do the crime, you do the time. You should be ready to do the time. I myself have never had to worry about crime in relationship to doing time. So I understand that she had some folks in prison, and I also understand, according to her record, she didn't prosecute some folks. So we need to understand these dynamics if we choose to. If we choose to. But if you're eligible to vote and if you are abroad, I want to encourage you to maybe consider your voting, absentee ballot voting. So if that's you and you want to contribute to this process, make sure that you are registered to vote. Now, historically and systemically, voting has been an issue. I know what that feels like. I've been there before. But I do know that as a collective, we've been able to accomplish much, even in times of hardship. I'm thinking about Indian Red Summer, Selma, Alabama, the various boycotts that they had and strategized, and it was completely effective. So this is my plans for the 2024 campaign and upcoming elections. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know how you think about it. I don't know how you feel about it. But I do know there's pros and cons on both sides. And I understand that as leaders and people in leadership roles, we sometimes make decisions that are not going to be favorable toward those who have issues with certain things or who have been in situations and turmoils that it kind of affects them tremendously. So, but that's the part of being in leadership that sometimes creates spaces for conflict. And as a leader, you make a decision to do what's right. And if you're a person full of integrity, then you follow the letter of the law. And if following the letter of the law creates these spaces where there's a conflict of trust or broken trust, then you work through those trust factors. So that's where I am. I'm working through my trust factors, but I wholeheartedly support her. Not because she's Divine Nine, okay? And not because she's African American, just because she has worked hard to rise above a situation and that she stayed focused and she built momentum around her career and she was able to climb corporate ladders being strategic. And she got there based on her own ability. So I'm grateful for that. I'm excited, and this is Kamala Harris and the principles that she is running for. She's fighting for our rights, lowering cost, and building economic opportunities. Ooh, Kamala! My darlings, if we want change, we must first be the change we want to see. So the question is, are you the change that you want to see? And have you opened yourself and the platform that you have for others, or is that platform just centered around you? So I'm just really looking forward to the next few months. I know it's going to be challenging. I know it's going to be difficult. I know that our people still today are suffering. I'm one of those people. I'm no different than you. I've been challenged by many things in corporate environments, from systemic racism to institutional racism to racial trauma, which is a serious issue. And I believe that those who have had or dealt with systemic racism, long term racism, have a sense of entitlement for a payment for racial trauma. If you look at the DSM for psychological evaluations based on impairments and the disabilities ratings, racial trauma is now high on the list for those. If you experience racial trauma, it's a part of depression and anxiety. You have a right to pursue, those benefits based upon the trauma that you receive. Now, whether or not you'll get that is another question, but I do believe that now people are understanding the implications of racial trauma and the negative effects that it has on people who are dealing with and maintaining a constant day in, day out level of burden about racial identity and how that affects them. So racial trauma is a general conversation, but it has um, broad, deepened implications about how do we manage to survive, and how do we manage outcomes in the world that we live in today. Yesterday I was writing a letter to the Chronicle of Higher Education and to the Southern Colleges for Accreditation, talking about the systemic and structural racism in curriculums. I myself attended primary white institutions and had to fight systemic racism the entire time, from elementary all the way up to my higher learning experience working in institutions myself. I've always had that burden of engaging Europeans on that level. So I understand what systemic racism looks like. I definitely understand what it feels like, and I know the outcome. So I've been able to manage and survive in these environments. So my letter to these agencies was to highlight critical race theories about how African Americans are indigenous Americans, however you classify yourself, how we have been relegated to being a classless people in this society, coming from a hierarchy where we were the creators of all things. And so now we are in a place what we're dealing with a class system. And so how do we overcome these barriers? How do we fight through these challenges? And it was in me to have this conversation with the Chronicle of Higher Education, talking about the primary white institutions that I attended and the issues that I had within these institutions. You go to school to be educated for greater outcomes. We as a people in primary white institutions go to school and you're still battling systemic racism. So you're paying for an education system in the long term is not going to produce you the rewards. You're going to have to fight through many things, as I did. But I am hoping that the more of us, there are more black educated women in the world than there are any other groups of people in the world. And also, Nigerians rank the highest in education and PhD holders. They outrank the Chinese. And so it's important for us to realize who we are and the cloth that we are cut from. So our expectations should be greater. My expectations are greater. I'm learning to work outside of the box that this system has put me in. And honestly, it's difficult because this is the way you were raised. This is the thought process. This is the mentality that you're fighting against. It is literally spiritual warfare for to come against all of those things that you were raised and taught to believe as right. Now, as an adult, know that it was designed to oppress you and keep you down. So it's overcoming those barriers, having the strength and the tenacity to fight through them and be the encouragement of yourself to move forward. So every day is an opportunity for me to encourage myself. So I have to speak truth to my power, and I have to talk about the experience I had in primary white institutions, and bigger yet, have a broader conversation what it's like to be an educated woman of color, of indigenous DNA in this country, in any country, because everywhere you go in the world, we are marginalized people. Even if you're in Africa, same thing, still marginalized. You still have issues there too. So the thing is, what do we do to rise above it? What legacy are we leaving for the next generation? I'm so proud of this generation who's fighting to be the change they want to see. They ain't playing around with it. They're not just sitting back talking about it, but they are busy, proactive, making change. And these this generation is not so divided about who they are. They are stunned, amazed, shocked, disappointed, and even Europeans disgusted by their own ancestors and the history that they lied to them about. So it's on both sides of the coin. And that's why, for me, it's imperative for me to be a voice because I once did not have a voice. And so I'm choosing to use my voice to make sure that I am strategically, thinking about the way forward. And that's my legacy, is moving forward and not moving back. All right, Africa enthusiasts, enjoy your Saturday. Peace.